Levi here, the outdoor cowboy, and today we're drinking water. But before I get jardy or anything, we gotta make sure to filter our water. Today we're gonna be talking about some of the most common ways to filter your water in the outdoors, the strengths of each, and which one you should use to make sure you always have clean water when you're in the outdoors. So let's go filter our water and saddle up for the ride. Having clean water when you're in the outdoors is one of the most important things for keeping our bodies alive, just for surviving. So it's really important that we have it. There's a well-known survival rule that I love called the rule of threes. And it covers everything in survival, so it goes with that you should never go 3 minutes without having air. You should never go 3 hours in extreme weather without a good shelter. You should never go 3 days without having good water. And then 3 weeks without having food. And that's just a great general rule for when you're in the outdoors. But it really goes to show how important water is. We can go 3 weeks without food, but our body can barely go 3 days without water. And they're definitely not gonna be a pleasant 3 days. And the 3 hours in extreme weather without a shelter is really just for extreme weather. If it's pleasant weather, if it's warmer, then shelter isn't gonna be your first priority. And I would say that getting clean water is a priority, especially if the temperatures are pretty high, where you're gonna be sweating and exerting a lot of energy. It's really important that you have clean water. So I found this super awesome stream up in the mountains. It's super clear looking. It's super cold because there's snow and ice that's melting to form the stream. So I should be able to drink just right out of the stream, right? Not quite. Just because it looks really clear does not mean that it's clean. So that's why it's so important that we are able to filter our water. And that's what we're gonna be talking about today. We're gonna be talking about a couple different ways to filter our water, because we don't know what's in this water. Even though it looks really clean and it's probably from recent precipitation that we have water here, we don't know if there could be a dead animal up in the stream up ahead that could be putting a lot of bacteria and things into the water, or there might be feces up in the water that could give us sicknesses. So even though it looks clean, it's always important to make sure that you filter your water. Water in the mountains and streams and rivers and lakes, things like this, can have stuff from E. coli to Giardia. And if you drink it thinking it's clean water and then it's gonna nourish you, you could end up with things like giardiasis, really bad stomach aches, cramping, diarrhea, vomiting, anything like that, which is not helpful when you're trying to survive in the outdoors. So today we're gonna be trying out 4 different ways to filter water. We have the classic, just boiling water, which is awesome. We have water purification tablets. We have a classic camping filter. I have my Grell GeoPress, but it's similar to other things like gravity-fed bag filters or life straws. And then lastly, we have my Brita from home. So we're gonna be talking about these 4 ways to filter water. We're gonna be talking about how they work and maybe how convenient they are for when you're in the outdoors. And we're gonna be putting them head to head with this water right here from this creek to see how good they are at filtering water. So let's collect some water to go filter. And pretty soon we'll have some delicious water that we can drink safely. And make sure to stick around to the end after we filter some water. We're gonna do a fun bonus segment where we see how well these 4 ways can filter out Gatorade. See if it can filter out the flavor and the color. I'm not sure if it'll work, but I just wanna see. So stick around to the end for that, it'll be awesome. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so I can get a new Brita, because my wife's gonna be mad that I'm probably gonna ruin my current Brita with filtering this water. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe for family-friendly outdoor videos, survival camping, adventures, anything like that. We got new videos every Saturday morning. So we got some super cold and fresh creek water in our Nalgene. Now let's go talk about our ways to filter water. All right, welcome to the science portion of our episode where we actually filter our water. We'll be going through each method. We'll have them right here in front of us. And we've got our creek water, which we just got, which is what we're gonna be filtering. So we'll go through each of these. We'll talk about how they work while we set them up, and then we'll give them some time to work, and then we'll see how they are at the end. So like I said, our first method is gonna be boiling water. And it is pretty much the oldest method. It has been being done for thousands of years, and that's because it's easy and it works. So we've got our stove here and our pot. And this is what we're gonna be using to filter our water. And the reason that boiling water works is because you boil the water. Basically, it just gets super hot, and it gets hot enough where it's able to kill any bacteria or viruses or anything that are in the water. Those bacteria aren't able to stand that high of heat, and oftentimes it even breaks the bonds in those bacteria with the heat to make them harmless. So that's how it works, so you can drink it. And it's just super easy because all you need is a pot. It only takes a few minutes. You can do it with a fire or a stove. You just pour your water in. And then boiling time, you just get it boiling at a rolling boil. And then you're supposed to boil it between 1 and 3 minutes. 1 minute is what kind of the standard is, but then I see things that say 3 minutes for high elevation. So we're gonna do ours for 3 minutes. We're at about 6,000 feet right now in elevation, so we'll boil ours for a few minutes just to make sure it's clean. But just super simple, super easy, just takes a few minutes. You probably already have a fire going if you're out in the outdoors, so just tossing a pot of water on there is just awesome. So let's pour some more water in our pot. And as we compare these 4 methods, we're going to be talking about 4 categories, seeing how well they're able to filter your water. And these 4 categories are: 1, if they kill germs; 2, if they remove sediment and debris; 3, if they remove chemicals and metals; and then 4, if they improve taste. So those are the 4 criteria that we're going to be talking about for all of these. Obviously, we're going to be talking about overall if it makes your water safe to drink, but those other things are important to talk about. So when it comes to boiling, this only checks off the first box, and that is that it kills germs, just the bacteria and viruses that are in the water. Maybe there was a dead animal upstream or some feces, anything like that. Boiling takes care of that. Obviously, there's no filter or anything, so it doesn't remove sediment. So there's some floaties in our water and stuff from the river, whatever rocks and things and dirt are in there. It's not going to be able to remove that. It also isn't going to really be able to remove if there's any chemicals or metals in the water, which shouldn't really be a problem when you're in the outdoors, but still something to think about. And then lastly, it won't really improve the taste either. The bacteria that it's killing don't really have a taste, so basically how the water tastes is how it's going to taste once it's boiled. So we got our water poured in here, and we'll set this aside and give it some time to get boiling and stuff. And then, like I said, just a rolling boil for 3 minutes, and then we'll be all done. So let's move on to our next way to filter water. All right, and our next way to filter water is by using water purification tablets. I have this little tiny jar of them, but these are awesome. Very common thing to find in survival kits and things like that, just because they're great as well, and they're super easy. This is probably the easiest out of all of them, though it takes some time. You just toss 1 or 2 of these in your water bottle, depending how much water you have, and let it sit for some time, and then you're good to go. So these things are just awesome. They're super easy. You don't even need to get a fire going, which can be nice. You can do it while you're hiking around or something like that. And this is a bottle of a bunch of them. I think this whole bottle would do like 50 gallons of water or something like that. So you could definitely put a couple of these in a Ziploc bag, and they take up almost no room in your pack, and they just work awesome. And how these tablets work is pretty similar to the boiling water in that they kill the germs and things, but this is done a totally different way, not killing them using heat, but killing them using an oxidizing agent. And a common one of these, I believe, is chlorine dioxide. And this is just a strong chemical that is able to attack the germs and kill them and make them so they're not going to harm you when you ingest them or when you drink them. So these things are great, but like I said, these take some time. This one right here says that it'll take me about 30 minutes for this to work in 1 liter or 1 quart of water. So they take some time, and that's just because the chemical reaction takes some time. So it's important to let it sit for at least the amount of time that it says on the bottle or package, because if you don't, then you won't be able to actually have pure water. So we're gonna toss 2 of these into our water bottle and let it sit for 30 minutes, and that is our water purifying tablets. All right, in the rest of what's left in our water bottle, we're gonna throw 2 tablets in. We got our second water bottle filled with water for the other 2 examples. So we'll just toss these in, and then we'll let it sit for 30 minutes. And we should have some pure water when we're done. So, and then for the water purifying tablets with the 4 criteria, we have, does it kill and remove germs? Yes, it does that. The second one is if it removes sediment. It's pretty similar to the boiling water. There's no filter or anything, so whatever sediment is in your water is gonna stay in it. The third one is if it removes chemicals and metals. And again, nothing is being removed from the water, just the oxidizing agent in the tablets is going to kill the bacteria in the water. So it's not going to remove any chemicals or metals or anything like that. And then lastly, if it improves taste, which it definitely does not. In my experience, most of the time these tablets make the water taste worse, but you know that you're getting clean water, so it's worth it. So we'll let this sit for 30 minutes and we should have some delicious water. All right, now we're on to our third way to purify and filter water, and we have my Grail GeoPress. I love this thing. I've used this a bunch of my videos. You guys have seen it if you watch my videos. And this is my choice of water filter when I'm in the outdoors, and I'll talk about why. But this is very similar to other water filters, like the ones where you fill up a bag and gravity feeds it through a filter, similar to those, or like a life straw, things like that. They all do a pretty similar filter, so we're gonna be talking about them generally and how they work, but I'm gonna be using my Grail GeoPress, which is my favorite, and I definitely recommend them. And how this one works is you pull this middle part out, and right there is your filter. You put your water in this bin, and then you stick it in here, and you push down, and it will shove water through the filter and into the inside bin where it will be clean. So that's just how these work. I love it because it's super fast. It's a lot faster than the other methods, and I like the Grail GeoPresses just because it is your water bottle, so you don't have to carry a lot of extra equipment and stuff. So let's get some of our river water in there, and then we'll talk about how it works. and get us some delicious filtered water. So we got some water from our stream poured in there. There is a fill line, but we're not quite to there, which is all right. We can see all the floaties and stuff in there, which the great thing about a filter is that it will remove sediment and stuff like that. So we got it in there, and then we just go like this and push down. Once we got it pushed down like that, we're good to go. We got filtered water, so that's why I love these things. They're just quick. And if we talk about our 4 criteria, these things are just awesome. So how a lot of these filters work is through 3 different ways. The first one is that there's just physical filtration. So like the big chunks of rocks and moss and dirt, stuff like that, those are physically going to be filtered out, so there will be no sediment in your water. The next one is a really fancy term called electroabsorption, and it's super cool, meaning that the stuff inside the filter is electrically charged, and it actually attracts bacteria and viruses into it, so that it keeps it in the filter, so then as your water comes out, it keeps all the bacteria and things like that. So the first 2 methods kill bacteria. This one filters out bacteria and just keeps it in the filter, pulls it out of your water. So accomplishing a similar thing and still achieving our goal of having clean water to drink when in the outdoors, but just does it a different way, but both of them are still successful. So that's talking about this one for our first 2 criteria, is that it is able to get rid of germs by removing them, and then it's able to get rid of sediment and dirt and stuff by actually filtering them out of the water just by physical size. And then our third one is if it's able to remove metals and chemicals. And the third thing that these filters do is having activated carbon in it, which will actually pull out these chemicals and metals. So that's a plus. Super awesome that it can do that. And then our 4th one is improving taste. And because it's able to filter out all of those things, these make water taste a lot better. So definitely a plus of this one that the first 2 don't have, is this one will make your water taste a lot better. Usually snow and water and stuff in the outdoors is really natural and tastes really good anyways, but sometimes you'll get some nasty water and it's important to have. So this one's just gonna sit here because it's all done. The first 2 need some time, and we'll move on to our 4th way to filter water. And our 4th way, like I said, is my Brita water filter from home. And don't let my wife see this video, and I promise I will buy you a new Brita because it's probably gonna be toast after filtering some creek water. So what you do basically is just pour water in the top. I imagine a lot of you have these. And then it runs it through a filter and puts it in the bottom one. And we won't spend a lot of time on this one because it's obviously not very likely that you're going to be carrying around a Brita when you're in the outdoors, for not only its size, but also that Britas are not made for filtering outdoor water. Brita does not remove germs. It has no way of doing that. It doesn't have any oxidizing agent like this. It doesn't heat it up, and it doesn't have the right kind of filter, the electroabsorption, to remove germs. So this water, even though it's running through our Brita, is not going to be safe to drink. Now, Britas are obviously used for tap water mostly, which tap water sometimes has metals and chemicals in it, which is the one thing that the Brita can filter out, is those things. It'll obviously filter out sediment and things, but there shouldn't be sediment coming out of your tap water, so it can filter out those and it can make it taste better. But most importantly, it's not able to filter out germs and viruses and bacteria, so we will not be drinking this water even though it's been through our Brita filter, because the harmful things that we're filtering our water for are not able to be filtered out in this. So we can obviously see this one filtering, it's dripping out the bottom. Our Grail is done. This one needs about 25 more minutes, and then we'll get our water boiling. So we'll let these go for a while, and then we will check in when they're all done and see how our water looks. All right, just like that, we got our water boiling, so we'll let it boil for about 3 minutes, and then we should be all wrapped up here, and we'll see how all of our waters are. Alrighty, it has been about 3 minutes, so we'll get our stove turned off, and then obviously we'll let our water cool down for a little bit. All right, and just like that, we got our 4 ways to filter water. So I brought some clear cups. We will pour each way in. The water was pretty clear, so we're not gonna see like a huge difference in color and stuff like that. Obviously, we might have some floaties in the first 2 waters. The second one should be pretty clear, but we'll see what it looks like. Our Grail one is gonna be crisp, nice water. So we do have a pretty stark difference here in water, but it's not because the water is dirty or clean. So I have iodine tablets, which are not the most common ones, but these are the ones I have and I've used, and definitely shouldn't be using these every day to filter your water, but they can be great for filtering it, getting all the bacteria out. And because it has this light tint, that's what iodine does to the water, and that's how we know it's doing its job. So this isn't the color of the river water and then the rest of these are clean. This one is actually clean. This one is clean as well. And then this one, like I said, is not clean. So it's kind of a cool comparison to see that even though our water is super clear in that creek, we don't know what's in it, but just because water's clear doesn't mean that it's clean. Because this one, all the germs are killed out of it, but it doesn't look like it. My Grail over here purifies the water, cleans it, so it's super clean, no floaties or anything. But then our Brita on the end is similar looking to the Grail, where it looks really clear and there's no floaties, but this one doesn't actually have the germs killed. So just a pretty cool comparison, but just like that. These three are clean, they're good to go. So we boiled our water for a while. It's super warm, so throw some hot cocoa powder in there, you'd be good to go. We've got our water purification tablets, a couple of different kinds. The iodine ones will do this, but the chlorine dioxide, which are more common, shouldn't do it as much as this. They should be pretty clear. Then we've got our Grail, which is everything's filtered out of it. So even our metals and chemicals, the bacteria, the sediment, and it tastes a little bit better. So that's why I love the Grail. The boiled one still has a little bit of floaties in it from the river. And then we have our Brita, which filtered out the metals and the floaties, but not the bacteria. So just really cool comparison. And like I said, these three right here are safe. So we can drink any of these three. Whew, that one's warm still. And we'd be good to go, especially in the outdoors. Even if you have murky water or anything like that, these three methods will all filter out the things that can harm you in the outdoors. Wouldn't recommend drinking that water every day, but when you're on long trips and things, you're not able to always bring enough water for your trip. So you need to plan to be able to filter water. Whatever that is, whether it's just your normal stove that you're gonna cook food on, you're also gonna boil some water. That's a great way to do it. If you want to fill up your water bottle with some river or creek water, throw a tablet in it while you're hiking around. Great way to do it. Or if you want to bring your Grail around, just filter some water real quick. Have clean water to go. Also an awesome option. Carrying the Brita around while you're out hiking, probably not the best option, and it won't make your water clean. So I thought this was really cool. I'm glad we were able to try all these out. Really important skills to have, like I said earlier. Having water is one of the most important things up there with having a shelter, but even in some situations, having water will be more important than anything else. Our bodies can't go long without water, and you need water to be able to function and things. Like I said with the rule of threes, your body can go 3 days without water, but you're gonna lose a lot of function and thinking, and so it's really important that you don't go even more than just a couple hours without some water to make sure that your body's in tip-top shape and you can keep surviving. So my winner here is the Grail GeoPress. I just love it because it's my water bottle. I don't have to carry anything with it different. And this is the one that I use all the time because it checks all 4 of our boxes. It removes all the harmful bacteria. It filters out all of the sediment and floaties inside in it. It can help remove any chemicals or metals that are in it. And then lastly, it makes it taste delicious. So, love this thing, but any of these work great for filtering your water. So we're gonna pour all these out, and then like I said, we have a bonus test where we are going to see if they can filter Gatorade. I got the red Gatorade because I figured that'd probably be the most vibrant and stuff. Probably the easiest to see if there's a reaction. So we're not going to use our purification tablets because there is not any bacteria or anything in these. At least there shouldn't be that the iodine could even react with, and it doesn't remove anything else. So we're not going to do that one, but we will boil some. We're going to put some through our Grail and put some through our Brita just to see what it does. It'd be really cool if it can take out all the coloring and flavor and stuff, but we're going to find out. So welcome to the bonus segment. So we'll put some Gatorade in our pot. Put it on our stove, get it fired up, get her boiling, see what happens. We'll put some in our Grail, and then we'll put some in our Brita. I think I've seen people do this with soda through a Brita. I don't know if my Brita works good enough, and it took some of the coloring out. So we're gonna see what happens. You guys will be able to see it dripping down and see what it looks like. So let's push down on our Grail, see what this one looks like. Alright, we've given it a little bit of time. The boiling over here, I think we might be making Jello with how cold it is out here. If we let it sit for a while, it might set up. So it looks just like Gatorade, just warmed up, so no change there. I thought that our Brita was working at first because a bunch of clear water came out, but it must have just like pushed some of the river water out. I think it may have filtered out some of the coloring though. It seems to me like it's a little bit lighter than the red Gatorade was, but I'm not totally sure. If there's any change, probably not. And then for our Grail, it's definitely like way clearer. I'm not sure if you can see that comparison between those. This one over here is the one that was boiled, so it's basically just Gatorade. But then this one over here, you can pretty much see all the way through it, which is pretty crazy to see that. So the Grail must have filtered out some stuff. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it took out all the electrolytes and stuff, but pretty cool that maybe if you ran it through a couple more times, it would come out clear. So I'm not sure, but kind of a fun test just to see how good these things work. It's pretty cool. Luckily, this filter was already pretty much at the end of its life. I didn't just ruin a brand new one, but I hope you guys know how much I appreciate you watching, that I killed a Brita and a Grail filter just for this video, just to make a cool video about filtering your water. So it was just a super cool test. I learned some, and it was just fun to be able to do this. It was cool just to do some more research into these ways. I knew that these ways did work, but to find like the history of them and how they work, just super cool. Just the boiling water has obviously been around for thousands of years. Ever since the creation of fire, that's how water has been able to be filtered, which is super awesome. But it does work great for in your home if you're just trying to filter out metals and things like that. The tablets are just really cool because you can do them just while you're hiking around. You don't need to be sitting still. It helps to mix them up, and you don't necessarily need a heat source or anything like that. So those are an awesome option. And then obviously my Grail. I love this thing, works awesome. And this is what I choose to use most of the time when I'm filtering my water, just because it's super easy to carry around and it works great. And you can even halfway filter Gatorade if you needed to. So just like that, we learned about 4 ways to filter water. 3 of them are great for the outdoors, and you can pick which one you want to do. And then 1 of them, obviously not safe for the outdoors, but you also don't have to carry around a Brita pitcher everywhere you go. So super cool to learn about. I really enjoyed doing this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned a lot from it. It's super cool to learn about just because of how important it is. You can't just go around drinking any stream, because if you're already in a survival situation and then you get sick from your water, it's going to make it a lot harder to survive. So super important to have clean water in the outdoors, and to know you can't just fill up your water bottle and drink from any stream, because for survival it's not only important that you have a good shelter and a fire, it's also really important to keep your body healthy and fed and nourished. Make sure you got some good water so that you can keep going, keep having a great time when you're in the outdoors. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of my subscribers and those that view this video, and I'm super happy for those that support my dream of making these videos. So thank you so much for watching and for supporting this channel. Make sure to get some delicious clean water, and I'll see you in the next video. If you liked this video, make sure to check out the Outdoor Cowboy YouTube channel. We've got new videos every week, survival adventures, camping projects, tool restorations, and a whole bunch more. Hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.